Hey everybody, welcome back to JohnVHRC. Look what we have today. That's right, we got the H-King Savage Bobber. Pretty sweet, 1000mm Balsa ARF airplane. Fitting into the STOL category these days everybody's into. So this is how the box came to me. We'll show you what's going on inside. Get 3 boxes in that box, and in those boxes are, here you have the wings, already hinged. You've got big flaps, very cool, nice decals, already applied. Here we have the horizontal. Here's a clear piece. Not sure what those are for yet. I haven't read the manual. Then we've got some carbon bits. That look spars and stuff it looks like here. Some square ones and some round ones, or a round one, sorry. That's it in that box. Moving on to the tiny box here. You have a bunch of bits. So you've got a bunch of screws. Looks like some control rods and other little things here. Then in this box, I'm sure you can guess what's left. So here is your cowl. Here's your big stocky bush wheels. Really cool looking wire landing gear. I'll get it out of the bag, you'll see it better there. The vertical and the rudder. Sweet decals already on it. And then you have the fuselage. Okay, let me get everything out of the wrappers and we'll be right back. Here's everything out of the packaging. So, a little cowl. Here's the clear window. I'm assuming this will go probably like this or something once you're done, because there's no windscreen on here at the moment. Bunch of little, not really sure where those go yet. Some wood blocks, some servo doublers of some sort, maybe spacers. They had some control arm stuff. Here's some little, there we go, get a good reflection on there so you can see the control horns, a bunch of screws. Those are burly wheels and tires. They are thick, boy. The tail wheel's thick. Here's that gear, which is really cool looking. Hope that's focusing for you guys. It's hard for me to tell. Wing. Get some big throw on the flaps there. Aileron, everything is hinged. Elevator is hinged and done. Looks like they live hinged it with covering, which is cool. I don't know if there's anything underneath that, I'm not sure. And then your rudder already has the tail wheel wire in it. And then yeah, your fuselage. I believe Stuart said this was like, was it nylon reinforced fiberglass or something like that. Don't quote me, I'm just kind of going off my bad memory. But you guys can kind of see what's going on in the cockpit there. I think your battery will go up in here somewhere or down there, I'm not sure yet, we'll find out. It's got a nice tube here to run your servo wires back. Looks good. Okay, well, that's all the pieces. Let's get into the build. Alright, so step 1 is the landing gear. So out of this, like they said it was G10 or some sort of fiber material, you'll take the 4 little straps out, the big bag of the little screws, and in this other bag you'll have a couple of the collars for the wheels. So you can see here how you'll use the little screws with the straps, get the landing gear in. It only goes one way for the most part. And then you put your set collar or your collars on and your wheels. I use blue Loctite on the collars on both sides. So now we've got the main landing gear installed. Alright, after the landing gear they want you to put the tail surfaces on. So I just kind of put the wings on. There's a little spar in the back and a big spar in the front. Just slid them on so I could sight down it to get the horizontal, you know, even with the wings. If you do like that, you know, you can get it really good. And then I measure out, make sure it's square. Otherwise you got nothing really to square it up to, you know. So let me take this off real quick. I'll show you what we did underneath here, but you will have to trim a little bit of the covering on the bottom side of the stab. So you'll get it in place. It says to tape it in place, do your measuring, and then you'll trace kind of where the fuselage hits it. And then you'll cut the covering off the bottom and glue it, you know, to the top in here, making sure it's square and level. Then you'll do the rudder, or the vertical, sorry. So make sure it's straight up and down and straight. And then there's 3 hinges, 2, 3. I took a knife and had to kind of find the slots because they were covered over, and then make sure they're in the right spot, test fit. Got that in good, glued in the CA hinges, and then the chunky tail wheel goes on with a little collar on this side, again blue Loctite on that side. So that is the tail surfaces done. Okay, next thing will be the wings. So we've got all these little servo doors, or whatever you want to call them. You'll have to cut the covering away from where the control horn will stick out, and don't forget you're going to need some servos. These are the one that I've chose for my build, 5 grams, and I'll have links down below in the description obviously to everything, because we're going to have a whole power system and a bunch of goodies here. So we're going to cut the covering out of the way. These little blocks are going to glue onto the back here that you'll screw your servo onto, because the servo will mount onto here something like so. And that's how you'll mount them. Some people will choose to just glue the servo to the plywood. I've done that before, it works. As long as you don't have to change the servo anytime soon, you know, then that's an easy way to go. So we're going to have to glue the control horns into there, we'll have them here, and then make the linkages. So we'll come back once that's all complete. Okay, working on the wings here. So I've got the little slots cut out where the servo arm is going to go through. Did all of them, then I took my iron, just kind of ironed down the covering to make sure everything was good and secure. I've got my servos out and my horns, and the little arms that go in here. So the ones on the flaps are going to face back, like so. So you can kind of get an idea. And then the ones on the ailerons are going to face towards the servo, like that. So that way when the flaps are up, the arm is not poking into the wing. So what I did on the bottom of these is I took some sandpaper and sanded where the glue is going to go so that it's got a little extra to stick to. And I'm going to glue those in. And then I'm going to get the arm on the servo and get it centered over the hole, and then glue those blocks in. Mark where they'll go. Glue these blocks in. So we're going to have little standoffs to screw the servo into. So once I get that done, we'll be back. Alright, I'll show you guys what we got going on here. So they have the string that goes all the way through, which I tied to this one. And then I pulled it through enough to here, and then I tied this one onto it. Make sure your tape is small enough to fit through the holes. And then now I'm just going to pull all the servo leads out to the end here. So that's what we got going on. There's the flap. And we'll get that one out. That'll fit down here. Take this one off, and then I can pull this one the rest of the way. You can see how these wound up on here. Worked out pretty easy. So, and that'll fit in there when we're done. Alright, so we got the wings pretty well done until we install them onto the bird. Got the wires hanging out. Got the linkages kind of initially set up. We'll see how it goes as time goes on here, if that's going to be the final. I Loctited these. You have to drill these out, these horns, with a little bit bigger drill bit. So unless you don't have one of these little pin vise deals or whatever they're called, I just put it on there and turned it till I got it through, which worked out great. But you could always drill them before you install them. Make sure that they fit these clevis things. And I put them in the top holes on these arms. We'll see how that goes because it keeps it above the surface here, right? So that way it's not too low. But yeah, both wings complete, other than just final assembly or final adjustment of this once we get it hooked up to the receiver that I'm going to use. For setup, I've been using this, one of these servo tester type things. So works good. It has a neutral button on it and you can adjust the ends, and fingers crossed that that's where they're going to be. So we'll find that out later. So moving on to the fuselage. John from the future here. So I'm going to put my wings on, and the factory had the little string coming out of this front hole. You want your extensions to come out the back one because that's what will match up with the hole on top of the fuselage. So make sure you put your wires through there. Just a tip for you. Next step would be the windscreen here and the top cover. It's all one piece. There's already screw holes in here. Each side, on the side, I don't know if you guys can see down in there if I can get the angle right, but there is a hole underneath the covering here. So you just kind of grab this and hold it down and put the screws in there. Went on very easy. Looks pretty cool actually. I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but you could always tape or glue it down to this strut here, or if you're really good at kind of bending, you could probably work a bend in it. I did a little bit here, but it didn't really make a whole lot of difference. The other side I did not, so we'll see how it looks once the wings are on, or we'll just leave it. Next up we'll be mounting the tail servos. Go back in here. I already took my Dremel out, made it bigger since I went with the bigger 9-gram servos. And then because they're bigger, they fit too tight together, they'll touch in the center. Then you got to put these spacers on. Initially these spacers were a full rectangular piece. I just took my knife and just cut the edges off and spaced them out on the ends and CA glued them down there really good. So they're going to space my servos out enough so they won't hit in the center. Because I test fit them and they did. So, because by the time you get them in there, you know. So next up we'll be installing the servos and then the linkages, and we'll be right back. See, I got the control horns in already. And I drilled them out already. Servos installed, linkages installed, not tightened down yet. We'll figure out where they're going to be when they're done. And then I ran the extensions up through the tube into the fuselage. They're just hanging out the side here till I figure out where exactly I'm going to put the receiver, which looks like it maybe will go here. I'm not sure yet, but we'll figure that out and let you know. So next on, putting on the motor. So here's what we picked up for a power plant. G-Force 2830 1200 kV outrunner. Comes with the hardware to mount it. Then I went with the G-Force 30 amp speed control. That was the max rated for this. I'd rather have too much than not enough, right? So let's get them installed. So we got the motor mounted. Got the ESCs just kind of shoved down below in that bottom hole for now. The receiver's just sitting back here until I figure out where it's all going to go in the final. Maybe it'll sit in here somewhere, I'm not sure yet. But your battery goes up here in this top tray. I'll probably glue some Velcro in that spot down in here so I can just stick it in there instead of using the foam, kind of like Stuart did, hoping that'll work okay. But yep, engine mount was easy. The holes that were already drilled there from the factory fit perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and get this cowl put on. I need to make the hole a little bit bigger for the adapter here, but not a big deal. And then we'll get that mounted up. Then we'll put the wings on and figure out where the receiver goes. Pretty cool. Dremeled the hole out a little bit to clear really well. Held it in place with tape. Drilled holes in the cowl first, then held it in place in tape. And then mounted the cowl with the 4 screws that come in the bag with these little metal pieces. So now cowl's on, moving on. Next to be installing the wing. So I put the big spar in the front and a little tiny one in the rear, measured them to get them exactly the same, and then inside here I put a little dab of glue on each just to hold the spars centered and to keep them in place. I didn't see anything in the manual about that. But so what else is going to hold the wing on is you're going to have these metal tabs which will fit into the wings in these little slots, wherever they go in. I haven't put one in there yet. There we go. But anyway, and then you've got these little square carbon tubes. You've got shorter ones and longer ones. Different lengths here. So the longer ones will go in the back, shorter ones will go in the front for your wing struts. Then you'll put glue on the corners of everything to hold it all together. So here's how the wing struts will go on. It was pretty easy. You will probably have to bend these top mounts as well as the bottom ones. I had to bend a lot, but bend these up, get these things on there. It would be easy if you put these on before you put the wings on to the landing gear mount up here. But these pieces, just put them in there and bend them till they match up, and then stick them in the carbon rod and drop them down in. See how easy I can pull it back out? They fit down there. So once I got everything fitting how I like, which I do, now I'm going to put a bunch of glue on all the points, and I might put a little bit on the spar too, maybe to keep the wings in, because they'll come out too. So glue everything together after the trial fit, and then you'll be good to go. Then you're going to have a Savage bobber. Alright guys, here you go. It's the completed model here. We've got, I put my receiver right down in the center. You can see it right here on the floor. Batteries in the top tray. ESC's down here in the bottom one. I realize you can't really see. ESC's in the bottom here. Batteries in the top. You can see the big flaps here hanging down. Let me get an angle for you guys. Lots of flaps. It's an elevator, rudder, ailerons, everything's functioning. Looking good. We have engine power. Yeah. Just need to double check the CG from what Stuart says. It's right on. The color change here. The throws, the manual says like everything in degrees, like 25 degrees and 20 degrees for this and whatever. I just kind of did that as millimeters and set some triple rates. So we're just going to go and fly it, and I'll adjust it as needed from there. I'm not too worried about that. And yeah, so I'm kind of curious to see how the power goes with this motor. And here in the shop, holding it vertical and punching it, it feels like it's almost going to have unlimited vertical. So maybe it's a little overkill. But that's what you want in a STOL plane anyway, right? To get up out of there. So I'm pretty happy with how it looks. Pretty neat looking little airplane. Should be a lot of fun. Yeah. So next time you see this thing, we'll be out at the field. And we're going to do the maiden. So that'll probably be coming next week. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and you're not going to want to miss that. So we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for stopping by.